What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I am Alex, and I'm joined by Nick and Tyler, and we are here today to talk about Fortnite tips and tricks. So these are going to be kind of our classic tips and tricks fashion. We are going to talk about things that maybe you already know if you've played this game for a little while, but we're going to try and talk about things that we think can give you a leg up when you're first starting the game or when you've been playing for a little while. Some things that maybe you don't think about right away as you're playing it that we have found out through playing. So, firstly, Nick, let's start off with in terms of crafting and managing your weapons. What do we got for those kind of things?
Okay, so in Fortnite, your weapons have durability. The lower rarity weapons run out fairly quick, while the higher rarity ones take a while, but once they run out, they are destroyed forever. So in order to get a little bit out of that, once it's close to being destroyed, you want to make sure to dismantle it so you can get some of the materials back, so it's easier to craft your next weapon.
And now, in terms of managing things, this game has a lot to it. There's a lot of menus, there's a lot of different collectibles and a lot of different things like that. Nick, when you have so many weapons or so many really of anything, defenders, survivors, literally anything, there's a cool little thing in this game that is a little bit hidden. It's also sort of a mission, and that you can use and to level up and actually get some cool stuff from. So what is that, and how do you use it?
Eventually, after you do get through the first few missions, you'll get a mission to use the collection book. It was a little, I didn't really understand it at first, but what it is it's one of the menus in the game at the main screen, and it's a collection of all the items, like characters, survivors, everything in the game. And what it does is, if you have, like, say you had two of the same schematic in your inventory, you go to the collection book and you add one, and it puts it in the book, and you start leveling up the book, and you get like a chest or like a llama, or even like 500 of whatever the V stands for in the V token. Be careful though, because it doesn't just use your extras. So if you put a schematic in there, you can't use it anymore. So only do it if you know you have an extra of something, or if you really know you're not going to use a schematic or a hero or something. But it's definitely worth doing, because I got like, I mean, you get like that's like 5 of the loot chests worth of coins, just getting up to 9, which is very easy.
Right, and in terms of, again, with the materials, with literally everything in this game, I said when we were kind of planning out what our tips and tricks were going to be, is check everything. So there's so many tabs to the screen, and there's so many things you can do. Literally, check everything. There's always, you tend to unlock llamas a lot during missions. Don't forget that you have them, because those can give you new schematics. Don't forget to look at the schematics, and if you want to try and level them up, go ahead, level them up. Pick the ones you use the most often. Pick the weapons that you think you're going to use the most often, and level them up. Even though you won't start with those weapons, you'll have to acquire various materials in order to buy the weapons that you're really going to want, including Nick's favorite gizmo. You're going to have to work for those, but don't forget to check things. There's always something to level up. There's always something to unlock. There's always research points to cash in on, because you're earning them per minute, really, and per hour. There's always skill points that the game really dictates when you're allowed to use the skill points, but there's always skill points. Once you get a little bit into the game, you can start sending squad members on missions to earn you extra materials. Don't forget to do that. That is by hour, and that it's an internal clock in the game, where even if you leave the game, it still counts. So there are so many things in the game. Don't forget to just, before you go into every mission, just check out every tab and see what you got to do before you do it.
Some extra points on scavenging is, I mean, there's tons of searchables in this game. Some are better than others obviously, like the big things, the boxes are like dressers and houses and chairs and stuff. They don't really get you anything that great, but you want to look for like toolboxes and crates that have stuff, and chests, obviously. You have to be really vigilant to try to find these things, because they're always behind something. I don't know how many times I've seen someone come out of a house after looting it, and I go back in there and there's like 4 or 5 chests that have really good stuff in it.
Yep, or they're hidden in basements, hidden behind walls and stuff like that. They're all over. But those it's very important to search them and not to actually mine them. If you mine them, you're only going to get one of the 3 materials that are in the game. You're not going to actually get the specialty weapons. You're not going to get any specialty items. You're just going to get either wood, steel, or brick. So you got to be careful on that. Tyler, in terms of actually playing the game, what are some of your tips for actually acquiring things or actually doing things around the world before you start the mission that the game gives you?
So one of the things is when you're editing, like when you have to make a door or kind of like a cover spot, you want to make like a place for cover. So you don't want a full wall, you want to eliminate most of the wall. I found that if you hold the cutting tool for PlayStation, it's R2, right trigger on Xbox. So when you're editing, rather than clicking, because what happens, like when you're looking at a wall, it divides it up into 9 squares. So if you hold the button in, it allows you to move and trace much, much easier rather than just clicking. So that is a very good tip. Another tip, especially for when you're trying to find things, is opening the big map, and by pressing the up arrow on PlayStation and probably up on Xbox, that opens up the big map. And that, once you start revealing the map, which is done by exploring, which we're kind of talking about, make sure you check everything, explore all over, that will show you where blue goo is. You can use, depending on like the map or whatever, and like what you find, those can be used. The reason there's so many, it's just not for the Atlas. There's also like radio towers and different things in the map that can unlock more things for you to get, basically. And at the end of the match, that allows for you to gain more experience and gain new schematics and survivors and a bunch of different things. So it's not just about building and shooting zombies, basically.
And there's survivors around every map. You want to make sure you try and find those. There's specific towers that the game shows you what it needs to look like, and you need to build those. And those are the radar towers. And if you build it exactly the way they want it to, not only does it kind of send out a pulse and you can see different things in the map, but then you can upgrade that using the blue goo, and it will reveal more things in the map. But besides that, you get the rewards. You get the gift boxes after you do it. And basically, it kind of gives you back all the materials you used to build it. I found that kind of interesting too. So don't feel like you're going to waste all your materials on building it. They give you it all back plus more, plus like more materials and more just goodies afterwards. So those are definitely, those take time, but that is, you know, in terms of exploring and stuff. And then really one of the final things I have to say is don't rush into starting the mission. Most missions don't start until you yourself want it to. Now, if you play with teammates, if you play with other people that you're not talking to, they could activate the mission basically when you're not ready. That happened to Tyler. That's happened to us before. But when you're playing it with friends, explore the world. Do whatever. Get the materials. Feel comfortable with how you're going to play it before you actually start the mission. The mission will not start before you.
Next tip we have for you guys is on actual building. So the base building in this is, you know, it's expansive and it's great and it's really easy to do. And I think that kind of leads most people to start overbuilding. When you build around the Atlas or wherever else you're building, waiting for the husks to show up, they don't actually tell you where they're going to be coming from. So, you know, you could build up a nice base with a bunch of traps and, you know, a good like a kill box and all that, and then the husks end up coming from like the other side, or God forbid, like above you from a mountain or somewhere, and they totally dodge all of that, and then they're like hitting the wall in the back of your base. So my advice is to build kind of like conservatively at first, and then, you know, it's especially easy if you have friends to play with. Build more once the husks start showing up towards the direction they're showing up from.
The other benefit of exploring, some of these maps have, like I'm currently in a very large cave, and caves, and I guess they wrote like mountains and caves, there's a very high chance that you find copper or even other type of crystals, and those can be used to either craft like very good weapons.
Yeah, like Tyler said, look for specific places for loot. Like a lot of basements will have your loot. A lot of times, if you're in a basement and you hear like a shimmer, that means there's a chest behind one of the walls. The Outlander class, actually, it's a little different for each hero, but one of their abilities they get when you level them up is they can actually see the rarity of loot chests. So, and I go in basements, I can actually see like glowing from behind a wall, so I can tell really easily if there's a chest behind any of the walls. And rooftops. A lot of times in the cities, on rooftops, there's really high rarity chests.
And as Nick was just saying, like rooftops, and as I was saying, caves, don't forget that you can build things to reach, like if you think like, well, how am I going to get up there? Build. Because you might be looking at a thing like, oh man, that stinks, I really want to get that. Well, you can, that's why it's there. You just build, and you make a staircase or whatever, or a floor plank in the sky and all that stuff. And they give you the tools to reach just about whatever you want to reach. So don't, think out of the box a little bit.
And in terms of, like I said earlier, checking things, make sure you're always looking at your quests, because there's more than just the main quest. That mainly when you start the game in the earlier levels, you start with just main quests. But as you get into it, more tutorial quests open, then hero quests, daily quests, challenges, a lot of quests come up. And a lot of them are kind of built in so that you'll accomplish them as you're doing the main quest, and you'll basically have to do it that way anyway. And it's just important to keep those in mind, keep looking at them. That way you know what maybe your internal goals are for when you go into a actual game. So we want to know if we missed anything, tips and tricks wise, what you guys have thought of Fortnite so far. Leave in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast and our YouTube channel for more of this stuff. Like and share this video, and we will see you for the coming days for even more Fortnite guides as well as our review.